Hi, it's Abbey Dyer Imonet. Welcome to another episode of the Lead with Positivity Vodcast, where we talk every week with female entrepreneurs that are doing big things in their communities and putting their ideas into action. And today I have Katherine Mackenzie Smith with me. I'm so happy to have you. Tell me a little bit about you and your business.
Hi, thank you so much for having me as well. As I always love to connect with other women who are doing amazing things. A little bit about me. I am a business coach for introverted and highly sensitive people who are just trying to cut through the noise of the online world, because there is a lot of it, and find a way to do business and get their work out in front of the people who need to hear it in their own way. I think a lot of the messages that we get don't necessarily align with more introverted and highly sensitive people's best strengths. And so I'm kind of on a mission to help other quiet, sensitive souls find their own way and build businesses that really support them to thrive and feel sustainable by being really aligned for them.
Absolutely. So many introverts in the female entrepreneur community, and that creates its own share of challenges, right? So tell me a little bit about what motivated you to start your business.
So I imagine a lot of other female entrepreneurs had a career, did all of the things that you're supposed to do, go to school, get good grades, go to uni or college, and then get into that career path that we're all told is the holy grail of life. You've made it if you've got a career goal and career path ahead of you. And I worked in television for nearly 10 years, and talk about an introvert in one of the most extroverted businesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was very exhausting, and I would find pockets where I felt like I fit, but so often I felt like I was at a huge disadvantage because I just refused to do the things that got me in front of the right people to get the next job or the next raise or promotion or whatever that might be. And so I had kind of started as a bit of a whim. I always call myself a bit of an accidental entrepreneur because I started a blog like we all did back in the early 2000s, and I was just sharing thoughts and ideas. It was kind of a creative outlet for me, and I met this community of bloggers, and I came to realize very quickly that there were opportunities to actually create my own way in the world, my own way of making money and supporting myself that didn't mean having to play by other people's rules. I was very naive because there are obviously things that we need to and have to do in business to get our work in front of people. But it has always been, especially in the last few years, on my terms. And so, yeah, it's kind of been a progression, but it was an unexpected fork in the road for me from the career I thought I would have had at this point in my life.
Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that
Right.
situation. So
Yes.
tell me a little bit about your greatest inspiration in what you do.
I am inspired by the people who are shy, who maybe are not the most confident people, who have been taught to stay quiet and stay out of the way and be good girls, and actually have found a way to get past that, to get something that they're so passionate about, whether it be a life purpose or a brilliant idea or just a way to support other people who are out there doing it anyway. I am just endlessly, day in and day out, inspired by those people who feel the fear and then are like, I'm scared, this is terrifying, being on camera, being interviewed, all of those things terrify me, but my work is so important to me, and the purpose that I have behind that and the mission and the vision are so powerful that I'm going to do it anyway. And that's what keeps me going every day, knowing that there's others out there doing the same.
I love it. And I love several things that you said. One is you've got kind of introverts, right? And that's challenging sometimes to get out in front of people. But then you also have kind of those social requirements especially related to women, where it is kind of, stay quiet, right? There are many studies that show that women who assert themselves, right, or even seen negatively by other women, right? So, I mean, there is this whole kind of challenge that women have in general about being able to speak out and speak up and do those things. So I just love your mission. Tell me a little bit about your business and maybe give us what's one of the biggest challenges that you find in your particular business?
My biggest challenge is actually the same one that I had in the TV industry, that I refuse to play by the rules, those socially conditioned rules. And a lot of that has led to, like, when you see those patterns forming from when you're a kid and then when you're in your career, that you think, this is what I need to do. If I just get in and I work hard and I do the work, that's going to lead to this result or outcome that I'm hoping. It has become no different in my business. It's been no different in that way. And I see people every single day using kind of manipulative tactics and ways to draw people into their programs, because that's such a big ingrained part of the online business world. There are certain ways to do things and say things and funnels, and, not that there's anything wrong with funnels, but, it's very much that masculine approach to pushing someone through a process. And it's just so not me. And so every day kind of coming up against that social conditioning that you mentioned from, being the good girls and the things that are put on us as women that we do internalize and maybe judge other people for, or judge ourselves for, or feel like we're not going to be safe or okay to behave or act that way. It's kind of like, oh, it's that day in and day out. Do I go up against the way it's always been done and the way that every person who's probably more successful than me says that it should be done? And is there a place for me in that? And it's one of those day in and day out questions that you ask yourself, because it's actually going against systems that have been in place long before the internet existed. It's conditioning, it's socially acceptable behavior and mindsets and intergenerational trauma and conditioning that we've inherited, that we now as women in the world doing business, especially for our Black and Indigenous and women of color who are out there having to kind of fight against racism and things on top of all of that. It's like a day in and day out thing. Oh, I don't want to do a launch the way everyone says that I should do a launch. Is that going to be okay? Am I going to be able to pay my bills next month if I don't do it that way? It's just questioning everything every single day. So I'd say that's probably the biggest thing for me.
And I would say that there are lots of people out there that are going to hear this and they're going to feel really aligned with that, right?
Yeah. Something unfortunately.
Though I love that you continue to blaze your own course, even if it goes against the grain. I think that's amazing. So tell me about your biggest win as a female entrepreneur.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I know, again, that there's always an expectation of like what success looks like and what we should all be aspiring to. I don't have $1 million business. I don't have a big team of people behind me supporting me every day. I am a one-stop shop. I do everything myself, and for a reason, because I personally just find it supports me better when I know what's going on and I'm able to manage that. And yet we're constantly being shown that we should be wanting that 7-figure business. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, the actual achievements are that I've been working full-time in my business pretty much since I started it. It's having quiet mornings that, aside from doing interviews and things on the other side of the world, I do not usually talk to people or have makeup on or anything before like 10 a.m. In my day. It's taking days off in the middle of the week. It's being able to travel and do amazing things that I would never have been able to do if I had stayed in my full-time career. And they're the things that fire me up, and that I'm sort of out there trying to remind other people that, like, if you're not necessarily motivated by 10,000 followers and $1 million business and, 100,000 people on your mailing list, that it's so important that we find what success feels like for us and what those achievements are. And so being able to have those little markers for myself and actually start unraveling a lot of the stuff that we're taught we should want has been, I guess that's what I consider a success. I've had award nominations and wins and, certain achievements in my financial part of my business, but they just feel like, for me personally, they don't necessarily motivate me to get up every day. It's being able to get up whenever I want. It's being able to have incredible, deep and meaningful conversations with my community and with my people, being able to see those people go out into the world and actually do what we've talked about that they're going to do. And yeah, they're the things that excite and motivate me every day and that I see as the best achievements.
There's so much goodness in what you just shared.
Thank you.
I think that we do have to often take a step back to really define what success looks like for us, right? Because you end up chasing all of the time, right? Whether you are in a corporate job or a female entrepreneur or both, right? You can find yourself kind of in that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
And not enjoying your morning, right? Getting up at 10 o'clock and drinking your coffee. So I think fantastic insights from another female entrepreneur. In terms of your business, so what you actually do when you're coaching, tell us a little bit about what your program or programs look like.
Yeah, so I have a few. I obviously do one-on-one with a few high-end clients. I have a business membership with other like-minded introverts and highly sensitive people who are finding their own way. At the core of the work itself, for me, is really helping people to realize that you don't have to be, if being kind of salesy, if doing things a certain way feels uncomfortable or out of alignment for you, if being, I've got clients who don't want to be on social media because they don't enjoy it and they find it draining and exhausting. So we are constantly playing with new ideas and possibilities and finding ways for them to build their community, to connect with their audience without having to do that. I have people every day say to me, oh, my last business coach told me that I needed to blog every single week. And my question always is, how's that going for you? Because some people don't like writing. Some people don't have an audience and they're creating all this content and nobody's seeing it. And I just don't like the idea of like, this is the way it must be done. And so a big part of the conversations that I have in my free group for introverts that we talk about business, where I do trainings in there, in my membership where we're constantly, having new ideas and having these conversations, and with my one-on-one clients, is so much about what do you enjoy and love and desire, and where do your strengths lie? If you aren't comfortable on camera and that's something that you just have no interest in ever trying, let's find something that does feel comfortable for you. Let's find what are your strengths. If writing is just like, it gets all caught up in your head and you can't get it out, let's find a way for you to get your thoughts out and then reorganize them and share content in different ways that are going to connect with different people. And so a big part of it is actually, let's focus on getting our message and sharing our work in different ways. We have so many amazing platforms to create and share content, which are the foundations and the pillars of who we are and what we stand for. I find that whether it's podcasts, whether it's blogging, whether it's social media posts or turning up on live streams, whatever it is, that is such an amazing opportunity to say the things that we care about, to talk about the ideas that we've been mulling on. And then we have those moments where people go, oh my gosh, I get that so hard. Like, that just resonates with me so deep. And that is such an amazing way to connect with new people and have those amazing conversations and call in the people who are actually aligned with the work that you do, versus having like a really snappy sales page that just talks a whole bunch of people into something. And then they're kind of like, oh, that wasn't what I actually wanted. And so how we can use our content I have this workshop called the Content Ecosystem, which is actually about how do we do less creating an output and actually get our work in front of the people, in as many different ways as possible by creating ones and just getting better at sharing it. And yeah, that's something that people seem to find really helpful because it can get really overwhelming. There's a lot.
Absolutely. And from a content perspective, on the end of what you shared, it really is the create 20%, publicize 80%, right? Market the 80%. And content is a tough thing. Lots of people are challenged with that. But what I really like about what you said is we have to be true to ourselves, right? As female entrepreneurs, in the same way that you have a corporate role and you're happy or not with that, right? Not everybody fits in the same box.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the fact that you encourage the folks that you work with to be who they are, right? Let's find a way that works for you. Let's not say that it has to be only one way. Yeah.
It's a difficult thing. It's a real unraveling because so many of us have been told we need to fit in here. And so it's a much deeper journey than just find something that you love and create that. It's so much about an emotional and nervous system healing and a deep dive into like our self-awareness, our personal power, our boundaries, our energy, all of these things before we can even, or while we're creating and sharing and connecting with our people. So yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to ask you my question a little differently than I normally ask this question, because who you work with and who you are is related to folks that really are introverted. And when we talk about people who are introverts, we talk about the fact that you get your energy being alone, right? As opposed to your energy really coming from being around the energy of other people. So when you think about the work that you do, how do you stay I usually ask people how they stay motivated, but how do you stay kind of energized if you're an introvert and you're working with people in the way that you are in your coaching business?
Great question. A lot of downtime and a lot of permission. And so, this year's been a bit of a challenging one just for a number of different reasons. And I'm sure many, many other people can resonate with that. We've all been in different boats. I heard this great analogy, in the same storm, but in different boats. And a big one for months was, what is the bare minimum that I need to do this week? Because I don't have the spoons. I don't have the energy to be doing all of the things, to be doing big launches and be outputting a lot. So for me, that is, showing up for my clients is 100% the most important thing. And if that is all I get done today, that is okay. And social media and content and people and our mailing list, they will always be there. It is not necessarily consistency is just not necessarily the most important thing. And again, that is a message. Consistency is key. Consistency is everything. That is just drilled into us. I've heard myself say it before, but I genuinely believe that when we're exhausted, we don't have the energy behind what we're trying to say. So if we're putting something out from a place of burnout, exhaustion, obligation, feeling guilty if we don't, people are going to feel that, even if it's the best thing we've ever written. And what I care about is potency. And in order to find that, we need to give ourselves space to actually not be doing. So that might look like just chilling out and watching Netflix or reading a book or going for a walk or just turning everything off for 3 days and putting an out of office on your email. We don't get paid holiday time unless that's how your business is set up. It is important for us to realize what we need. So mine is things like calls don't start before 10 a.m. And in fact, these days, it's almost 11 most days that I don't start calls with clients. It is taking afternoons off or, realizing, I'm actually starting to notice that burnout. What do I need to take off my plate that's not important? And just giving myself permission that is okay, because we're humans, we're not machines. And so by doing that, by living it, by embodying it, by getting out and just grounding and getting out and getting some fresh air, by taking time for my own self-care, I know that I need to do that, because it is hypocritical of me to tell my clients that they need to do that and then not do it myself. So whenever I'm like, oh, I feel really bad about not posting on socials this week, I'm like, no, what would I tell my clients in that moment? So, I have days that are cool days, and then other days that aren't cool days. And I just will not, I need to block them together, because being on every single day is too much for me. If I have a speaking gig or something, the day before and day after, nothing's happening those days. So it's really important for me to just know my energy, know what I need, know those warning signs of when I am starting to feel burnout, which we all get. That's not just an introvert thing. It's just that the amount of time is different, whether you're introverted or extroverted. So yeah, it's kind of just a lot of different things.
Yeah. What I heard was give ourselves some grace.
Yes.
Right. At times when we need it, depending on what's going on. And we talk about it. And again, we tell clients about it. But from a self-care perspective, female entrepreneurs are often not very good at it.
Yes.
Right. Taking a pause, right. And giving ourselves the chance to go for a walk, or just not, whatever it is, whether it's posting on social or it's writing content or whatever it is, just giving ourselves the grace of it does not have to be today. Right.
Yeah. So the world will not end
if
will. I don't get a post out.
It'll keep spinning. It absolutely will. All right.
Yeah.
One last piece of advice that you would give other female entrepreneurs.
Oh man, I mean, where do I start? Let me think of something that feels front of mind at the moment. I think even just because we've been talking about content and getting our work out into the world and finding a way to do that in our own way, I'm going to go down that path, because there are obviously a million different things that I could say. I think that and you said it just perfectly then, even with our self-care, we've even kind of weaponized self-care against ourselves, that it has to look a certain way. It has to be Instagram worthy. It has to be something that when it comes to creating content, sharing our work with the world, we are so judgmental of ourselves, and we also make it so much about ourselves. And I mean that in the most loving way possible, that no one is paying as much attention as we think they are. No one is as critical to us as we are to ourselves. And I know so much from the people that I speak to every single day, from what I observe around the internet, that the fear of judgment, the fear of those negative comments can so often be the thing that stops us from putting something out. And sometimes it is showing up and saying, hey, I'm really burnt out right now. Here is the honest truth of it. And knowing that, sure, someone might say something mean. It is so easy for trolls on the internet to do that without any accountability. But what if one person just really needed to hear what you have to say in the way that you specifically say it today? We have a responsibility, not just to our people, but to the work that we're here to do that. We need to find a way that we can show up and be there. We're the spokesperson for the work. And so when it feels like, oh, I don't want to be salesy, or oh, I'm just adding to the noise, they're things that I hear all the time. We have to remember that whilst, yes, we need to take care of ourselves and manage our energy, there is a fine line between playing small and hiding and letting fear stop us from getting out there. And all I can say is, if it feels like something that you're going through, if it feels tied to the work that you do and the people that you know that you can support, there is a very good chance that someone out there needs to hear it from you in the most real and human way possible. So, we're making a choice there. Do I let fear take over, or do I just go, oh, this is a bit scary to hit publish on, but I'm here for the people who really need to hear that today.
Absolutely. I think the realness, the vulnerability, show who you really are. It'll mean a lot to the people that you serve. And you're right. I heard somebody talk the other day about the fact that you may not even get a comment or a like, but that doesn't mean you haven't touched somebody with what you live streamed or wrote in your blog or your post or well, all those things, all those places that you have the opportunity to interact and really help people.
Absolutely. Right. The other thing, sorry, I was just going to say quickly, the other thing is that it's on the internet forever. So if it didn't touch someone in 24 hours since you posted it, doesn't mean they won't find it later on. And also that every time we show up in reverence for the work that we're doing, we're getting better at talking about it. We're getting better at our stories. We're getting better at sharing. We're getting better at just being in the energy of that work. And that is the most important thing, more than followers and likes and all of that. So sorry, I just had to add that in at the end there.
I thought that was an incredible point, and it was something that I saw that you had written, which is practice, right? That we get more comfortable the more we're on video and the more we do lives and those types of things. So practice and showing up is something that will help, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, and even if no one ever sees it.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Katherine, it has been a complete pleasure to have you on today. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you, everyone, for joining the Lead with Positivity Vodcast, where we take female entrepreneurs who are doing big things in their communities and have them tell us their stories as only they can. So if you liked this, please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.